officials, and it will give us a better view of our country, the Philippines. Hindi lang po Metro Manila ang Pilipinas, hindi lang po highly urbanized cities. These are representatives, brave women from as far as the islands. We will be having a speaker from the island of Romblon, the mayor of the municipality of Odiongon. We will also have the mayor of Barugo, Leyte, and our councilor from Lucena City. So I guess, so as not to delay any further, again, I have given them the heads up that we are partnering with very prestigious partners, the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Inquirer.net and Inquirer Foundation. And this is your opportunity to actually express what it's like during the pandemic in your areas of responsibility. So without further delay, I will introduce to you our speaker. The format for this afternoon, we will have our speaker and then we will ask her some questions that are specific to her area or some things that are regarding that will relate to her talk, and followed by our next speaker. So our first speaker is on her second term as a local chief executive of the municipality of Odiongon, Romblon. Prior to assuming public office, she has been engaged in government service in the province of Romblon and in various civic society affairs. Mayor Trina graduated in the early 2000 or mid 2000, I will not say the year, with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology from the University of the Philippines and obtained her master's degree in Public Affairs in 2009 from Princeton University in New Jersey, USA. To tell us about lessons learned from this pandemic in the municipality of Odiongon, Romblon, the local chief executive, Mayor Trina Firmalo-Fabic.
Maraming salamat, Marisa. Maadong hapon po sa inyong tanan. Of course, I'd like to thank Kaya Natin for inviting us to be a speaker here. And of course, happy anniversary po no, sa KN. I'd also like to thank Philippine Daily Inquirer, Inquirer.net, and Inquirer Foundation for the opportunity. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So I hope you can see my screen. I want to share with you all about Odiongon. So it's a second-class municipality. We're in the middle of the country. We're composed of 25 barangays, 15,093 hectares. Our population is 52,000. So we're a middle-sized town. But we are the center of commerce here in our province. And as well, we are also the center of education. Dito po yung main university sa amin. We are 8 hours away from Batangas and 1 hour away by plane to Manila. So there, you can see where we are. Nasa taas lang po kami ng Boracay. Ayan. So kung bibisita po kayo sa Boracay, pwede kayong dumaan sa amin. Pag okay na ang panahon, syempre. So just to give you a very brief situation here, Odiongon is situated on an island with 9 other towns. So, and we also have another island which only has access to outside the province through us. So it is very important to have a united front and interlocal cooperation regarding COVID-19 related protocols. On the other hand, because we are on an island, it became relatively straightforward to control the entry and exit of persons, which helped us. No? So I just wanted to briefly contextualize to you our situation before I actually go into the lessons learned. Okay. So as of now, I'd like to share with you very gladly that Odiongon remains COVID-19 free. We have not had a confirmed case of COVID-19. Returning residents must undergo a 14 quarantine of so patients, those with small children, pregnant women, senior citizens, and APORs. Our quarantine facilities are schools, municipal evacuation center, and the like. So as present, we have had 2,772 persons come home. But as I said, wala pa po kaming confirmed case. So our initial response, January 31, we already had our executive order. We created the municipal task force. We also activated checkpoints. We prepared the quarantine areas. We commenced the daily disinfection of public areas and public utility vehicles, monitored prices, created the barangay health emergency response teams, etc. So we tried to have a very quick response from the start. Public advisories on the cancellation of public gatherings, submission of health declaration cards for all arriving passengers. And we really met the barangay officials when we activated the health emergency response teams, because we wanted them to know what they were facing and what they had to do. So we gave residents 48 hours to return home, and those that did arrive were placed under strict home quarantine. Our checkpoints, so we had our checkpoints in our monitoring at points of entry. We established our municipal contact tracing team. Of course, we used the dashboards. And of course, I always like to stress that the COVID-19 pandemic is not just a health issue. The secondary underlying issue is the economic problem, no? Because of the restrictions on movement and the closure of businesses. So any response to COVID or to the pandemic has to take into account both health and economics. So I just wanted to share some of the programs that we had, especially in relation to food security and economic revitalization. Of course, we had the Mercado on the Go. I'm sure other cities and towns also did this. So we had our community mart, if you will, yung sa ibang lugar, no? So it's a Mercado on the Go. It's a rolling market. It went around. So it reduced the movement needed from people. At the same time, local vendors were able to sell their wares. And then this transitioned into the Odiongon e-Palengke. So we have an app now which we are using. So this app is able to deliver food. And now actually nag-expand na po siya. Even services like plumbing services, masahista, personal assistant, all of that can now be booked online. And we partnered with a private company to do this, Bayay. And then, of course, when we were giving relief goods, this I've shared in many fora, what we tried to do is not only give rice, canned goods, and the like, but of course we still did that. But we wanted to give them a nutritious package as well, no, to build up the immune system. So we gave agri-food packs. We bought from local farmers and producers. So we had a double purpose of also helping them economically. So we were able to give curated food packs, yung mga malalayo po sa ilog, tsaka sa dagat, isda po ang binibigay namin. And then yung mga inland sa mga bundok, yun naman po, yun po ang natanggap nila. So ano po siya, yung malapit sa dagat, mga manok naman ang natanggap nila in other wares. So we were able to give 28 tons of agricultural crops as well as poultry, fish, and the like. And then now what we're doing is we've added value to them through meat processing, vegetable processing, cacao processing, and the like. So we're trying to hook up all these groups to produce processed agricultural products. We also had a lechon selling for a cost during our fiesta. Siyempre, wala po kaming fiesta. So nag-online lechon selling na lang po kami. So we were able to raise almost 50,000, which we gave to additional relief goods. All our non-SAP beneficiaries, yung hindi po nakatanggap ng Social Amelioration Program assistance, we gave them our own local version of the Social Amelioration Program. So lahat po ng households may natanggap na tulong during this pandemic. And of course, our special care packages for our persons with disability, our senior citizens, malnourished children, solo parents, single drivers, vendors, and other vulnerable groups. And again, I'd like to stress communication is very important. So we had around 50 live stream announcements, which we also showed on TV and on radio. So this was broadcasted as well. So we tried our best to reach out to our constituents on multiple platforms so that they would have the proper, accurate, and timely information. We also did e-receta for our patients so they could get their prescriptions online or through text. Our daily disinfections. We had a laboratory on wheels, so umikot po yung aming laboratory. So we served almost 1,000 senior citizens. We have a partnership with UPPGH as well as some child neurologists. So we also look at mental health as well as yung sa mga psychiatric patients po natin. For our frontliners, we had psychological debriefing sessions so that they would maintain their mental well-being. We had free shuttle services, so we served almost 6,000 passengers in the course of a few months. We also produced our own personal protective equipments, of course, which provided livelihood as well to our seamstresses and to our sewers. We had Libro on the go, so we had a mobile library which helped our children to stay at home, no, and read. And of course, the usual mga TikTok and best corner of the house challenges, mga ganyan. Para lang manatili sila sa bahay. Of course, now that school is starting, we provided risograph machines and heavy-duty photocopying machines, as well as supplies, paper, ink, and others for not only DepEd, but also ECCD, daycare, alternative learning, and our special education. And we also gave training seminars for teachers and parents how to adapt to the new normal learning challenges. We provided a loan assistance of 2 million pesos in cooperation with the Cooperative Development Authority and 4 primary co-ops. So if you're going to borrow 10,000 pesos, ang interest lang po nyo sa isang taon ay 187 pesos. So this is just a way for the small businesses to get back on their feet. Pero yun na nga po, hindi kami direkta nagbigay kasi alam nyo na, parang dole out, di ba, pag ang expectation pag gobyerno. So at least, through the co-ops, we're ensured that they will be able to collect the money back and lend this again to other people. So what then are the lessons learned? First of all, a timely initial response in a pandemic will set the stage. So hindi po pwede talaga na what's happening or anything. So you really have to be able to give the timely initial response. And moving forward, I think it's very valuable for us to already have plans in place. So dapat meron na tayong mga contingency plans for pandemics, for epidemics, for anything of that sort. No, I don't think we're prepared by kasi we're only always looking at typhoons, earthquakes, natural disasters, but we have to take into account that there will be more pandemics in the future, unfortunately. So we have to be prepared for that. Another lesson is that timely, accurate, and relevant information is a very critical and crucial component of crisis management. You have to be able to, number one, sa frontliners po, no? If they have the proper information, they are capacitated, they are empowered. And for the constituents, they are pacified and assured. No? It reduces their anxiety and prevents the spread of unverified information, which causes people to panic. So I always kept telling people, kung gusto niyo po ng tamang impormasyon, pumunta lang po kayo sa aming page or sa Odiongon Public Information Office page. So we would provide hotlines as well. So we had text and call hotlines. We had a special help desk. We were accessible through social media, email, lahat po ng platforms ay available so that citizens could reach out to us. So communication is always a two-way street. No, it can't be just you giving the information. You have to receive feedback also from your constituents. People will look to their leaders for assurance and guidance. So we must fulfill that role. No, we're not just here to give policies, but we have to provide guidance, what to do to our people, and that means being non-partisan. No, so politics does not play a role in a pandemic. We have to give assistance equally and fairly. And you have to capacitate not only your supporters or your leaders, but also the officials who are not in your political camp. You have to train and capacitate employees and frontliners. You can't do all the work. You have to be able to have a structure that supports your policies. Recognize and treat frontliners as humans. So be cognizant of their motives, their fears, their motives, and the like. No? Kasi sometimes we have a tendency to just, look at our frontliners as merely people who have to do what they have to do. But we have to also be cognizant that they also have fears. So for example, yung mga health workers natin, so they're also actually really scared of being exposed, of getting sick. So we have to be able to assure them and provide ways for them, mechanisms, so that they will feel safe. Kung kailangan providean sila ng PPEs, kailangan bigyan ng incentives, kailangan silang bigyan ng yung reliebo. So we have to do that so that they will be able to function effectively. Consistency in policy and implementation is key. I learned that very well kasi the moment na, kunwari, pagbigyan mo yung isa na hindi mag-quarantine or palusutin mo sa isang policy, you do not have the mandate or the onus to enforce or implement that certain policy to other people. So wala pong exceptions. Kailangan, kung yun ang polisiya, lahat po kailangan sumunod. Whether family mo, friends mo, supporters mo, they all have to follow and toe the line. You must empower the community and private sector. So I have to stress this because this was one of the best lessons I learned, that we really have to tap the private sector. Many individuals and private groups want to help, but you have to provide the opportunities for them to do so. because sometimes they don't know what to do. So the private sector in our town raised funds for PPEs and medical supplies, almost 500,000, coordinated meals for frontliners and personnel at checkpoints, meals and supplies for isolated individuals, yung mga parang COVID suspects. So the private sector also gave for that. Trust and transparency are very important, no? So you have to be able to show the private sector that you are using their funds well, that all their funds are accounted for, that all centavos are accounted for. So you have to be able to show them that. That's very important. I think that we would not have been able to give the response that we have given if not for the private sector. Interlocal cooperation is important in a pandemic. So katulad nga po sa amin, we have 9 towns in our island. If one of our nearby towns did not have the same policies, then we would have a problem, no? That could have an impact on us. So we always coordinated with our neighboring LGUs. So always have a strong partnership with your adjacent local governments. Also, yung nasabi nga ni Marisa kanina, what you wish you could happen, no? So I really wish that we would learn from this pandemic that the national IATF should coordinate with the local governments regarding their policies. No, it shouldn't be just a cascade down approach. We have to engage the LGUs because the LGUs know what is happening on the ground and they can actually help to form better and more responsive policies. Lack of resources should not restrict you from coming up with creative solutions. So I always told my people that hindi ibig sabihin wala tayong pera, hindi natin kayang gawin yung mga programa. Marami pong programa na hindi kailangan na masyadong maraming pera. No? It's just creativity. On the other hand, there are also partners who can help, so we can tap them. Utilize ICT, information communication technology, fintech, inexpensive tools to adapt to the situation. So katulad nga po yung aming e-palengke, so that didn't require much at all. It just required technological know-how on how to set up the app. After that, ay halos wala na pong gastos. No? So there are many ways to tap existing technologies to come up with solutions. Another lesson I think that the pandemic has showed us is that food security and self-sufficiency are very vital. So we really need to plan out our program for food, and we have started working on our 5-year agricultural development plan. Challenges can be transformed into opportunities, no? So although this pandemic has been very difficult, I think we were able to see many opportunities for us to develop as a town and for us to support the people. And these are just quick personal lessons. You learn to figure out what is essential and what isn't, di ba? So what matters is who is in your life. I think that we really learned this during this pandemic. We don't have to keep living life the way we used to. There are many things we can change. No, we need to take better care of the earth. This is very, very important. I think we need to make life more sustainable. So I hope we plan not just for the new normal, but for a better normal. We can build back better. And then you learn more about yourself during times like these, I think. So I've learned what I'm good at and what I'm not. And so these are opportunities for us to develop ourselves even better. And of course, it doesn't help to have divine providence and a little bit of luck on your side. So these are just some of the lessons that I learned that I wanted to share with you. And moving forward, we already have some plans. So I hope that we will be able to work on these, strengthening programs and developing them further so that we can really address any challenge and we can become a better and stronger community. Okay, so just sharing, of course, some pictures of our beautiful island. Si Councilor Shai nakarating na sa amin.
Gusto
so of course, anytime po after this is over, please come and visit. And of course, don't forget your why. In everything we do, always remember why we are doing it. And everything else will follow. Maraming salamat po. Gandang hapon.
Napaka-inspiring. Wow, everybody, yes, you can clap by all means, you know. Napaka-inspiring. As we said, the format is I can now ask you questions. I hope you're open to that, Mayor Trina.
Yes,
if I were not a Filipino, and I did not know that Romblon is such a tiny island out there, I would, you know, can I borrow you here in Metro Manila? Parang feeling ko, I was looking at the photos and everything. They are not depressing at all. And we are in the same pandemic. Very inspiring.
It's ano po, actually, I think we've adjusted.
At saka ang feeling ko is just a quick one, a quick 1 or 2 sentences, Mayor Trina. Being in an island, was it good for you or bad for you in a pandemic? In your own view, was it more advantageous to you or disadvantageous that Romblon is an isolated island because you're zero cases up to now? You gave away SAP, you gave away seats, you encourage livelihood, so parang better life.
Well, I think it's a two-pronged sword, Marisa. So parang it was easier for us to control exit and entry into the island. So for me, that was such a huge factor why we were able to control the pandemic. I have to say there are COVID cases in our neighboring towns. So we have had, I think, more than 30 cases of COVID here in our province. Pero dito sa amin, wala pa po. So yun na nga, kaya nga sabi ko, may konting luck din. May konting divine
Pero walang
providence.
casualty. So far,
wala pa pong casualty so far. Yes.
Of Romblon.
So, the challenge of being on an island is access to health services. So we have a primary hospital. We are fearful na kung sakali man magkaroon kami ng mga very bad or adverse cases of COVID, I don't think we would be able to handle them truthfully. So,
yeah, because these are big ticket items. Hindi na kaya ng mayor magpatayo ng tertiary hospital overnight,
di ba?
So,
yes. So we would have to fly them out to Manila or somewhere where they would be accepted. So those are the challenges. Also access to, say, supplies, no? So we always have to ensure that we have a proper supply of food, especially rice. Since we do import rice for now. So we're not able to provide for all our local supplies. So yun po, yun lang yung challenges of being on an island. So, everything is always, may pros and cons.
Yes.
But it's a very beautiful island.
Pati yung aura mo, parang hindi pandemic yung aura mo. But anyway, because we are on lessons, let me ask you this question. Everyone wants to hear about best practice. And I've heard of students from the various public administration schools talk about you and our other mayors sharing best practice. Let's look at it from the other lens. What went wrong? I mean, nothing is perfect. So lessons learned tayo. What do you think could have been better? Could have been done better, could have made your work more efficient and effective as a local chief executive?
I think first of all, yun na nga, yung nabanggit ko kanina, yung coordination between all levels of government, so national government, regional level, provincial government, and kami mga local governments. I think there's a way for us to improve communication between all those levels and in the crafting of policies, I think. Kasi kami po sa local government, nahirapan kami to implement some of those policies, yung mga bawal ang angkas, even now, yung mga mandating wearing of face shields, and a lot of other policies that I felt could have been more responsive had they been, consulted. No? So yun lang po yung I think.
Why do you think, like yung face shield issue, yan? Kasi like now, here in Metro Manila, wherever you go, everyone wears one. Why is that difficult in your case?
Because we are a low-risk area, so we have not had a case yet. And syempre, parang we are in an economic slump. So parang to mandate everybody to wear face shields, you really have to give them that rationale na parang why they have to do it, why they have to purchase these face shields and wear them. It's such a difficult sell to people na you have
parang
to do this.
Feeling mo unnecessary? Hindi siya necessary.
For us, for now, hindi po siya necessary, I think. But yun na nga, because it is mandated by the national government, we have to enforce it. So medyo kami mismo na baka para sa akin hindi masyadong kailangan. Parang the challenge is, do I enforce a policy that I don't think is relevant to my locality?
So,
yung backriding po, di ba? So, alam niyo po, sa probinsya, di ba, very important sa atin ang motorsiklo.
It's the only...
In many remote areas, that's the only way you can get there. And then to see my people have to walk long distances na yun na nga po, wala naman kaming case, and then yung kailangan may barrier pa, those kinds of things. No? I mean, I don't want to be critical of that because I also understand that there are reasonings behind it. But I just feel that there can be, they can be better crafted if there is more consultation on all levels. I think
Will
that's
you be
one thing
sanctioned? I mean, ma'am, as a local executive, pag hindi kayo sumunod, nasa-sanction kayo.
DILG calls our attention. And then, of course, yung ating national government agencies like the PNP, they still have to implement these. They're mandated to implement. So they still have to enforce, and they will have to ticket the violators or, you know, all those things. So there can be a bit of parang clash. There's a clash between our policies and what we want to happen. So yun lang, parang I feel that this can be a lesson for all of us, you know, in the government, that there can be a more cohesive crafting of policies and programs and laws by having just by having a presence, no, just allowing local governments to have a presence on the interagency task force on the national level will already be such a
That's
big
interesting to have the local, the LGU represented in the IATF.
Kasi wala po silang seat ngayon on the task force, right? Wala
How do you think,
members.
How do you think, ma'am, if you were asked to make the suggestion, like now we have a broad audience with the Inquirer covering us, how would you allow the voices of 1,600 LGUs? Kasi kung ako din ng national government, sasabihin ko rin, di ba, okay, 1,600 kayo. So, paano, ma'am? What would be most effective?
Ano naman po, kasi we do have our leagues. We have the leagues. We have the League of Municipalities. We have the League of Cities. We have the League of Provinces. So they have officers. We have national officers. So to allow our national president or any of our officers to sit on the task force and to provide input on the policies being crafted, I think would be significant and would go a long way in ensuring that these policies are implementable, enforceable, and relevant.
Yes, I used to be ED of the league, so I know exactly what you mean. So yes, so you feel that we should actually have played a more active role in the coordination, especially in policy making.
So that's one thing, and then siguro just another thing that not necessarily went wrong, pero yun na nga, I really saw that we lacked preparation. No, we really didn't have any preparation at all for this, no planning. So we didn't have the equipment, we didn't have the supplies, we had to scramble for that, and eventually we ended up making our own, di ba po? Kasi we're trained, we do the annual earthquake drills, we always do the typhoon simulations, but we've never done anything of that sort for a pandemic. So really, di ba?
Good pa yun sa inyo that you turned out making your own. There's a question here I'd like to read out for you, Mayor Trina. What was the role of your youth? Did they play? Kasi walang pasok. Everything was canceled. How were you able to, or were you able at all to tap the youth in this fight against COVID?
So kung napansin niyo po sa presentation ko kanina, our Sangguniang Kabataan, we tasked them with finding creative and productive ways for our youth to be engaged. So that's why we had the Libro on the Go, we had a mobile library. Kasi nga yung mga kabataan natin, hindi sila pwedeng lumabas actually ng bahay, di ba? They're not allowed. So we had to find a way to engage them to stay at home, but be productive. So yun na nga po, meron kaming Libro on the Go, naghihiraman ng libro. We also had challenges, yun na nga yung TikTok challenge, best corner of the house, best vlog about your house, mga ganon. So parang puro ways to encourage them to stay at home, pero at the same time, parang pa rin sila, nare-recognize sila. Yes. Also, parang our SK were involved in parang helping. Like ngayon po, they are volunteering. They have free printing centers for people who need to print out their modules, yung mga bata, estudyante. And then we're in the process of course, with Angat Buhay and VP Lenny's office, we're in the process of setting up a learning center where the youth will be volunteering. So
Mhm.
to teach the elementary and high school students whose parents cannot teach them for their modules. So magvo-volunteer po sila. In exchange, they can use the computers for free during the night.
Ano ang biggest fear mo, Mayor? Because there's a question here na kasi parang public health, no? At the moment, it seems to me that yung economic setbacks you're able to deal with. So, ano ang biggest fear mo in terms of that you feel, you are protecting your people from?
Uh, Actually, the biggest fear here is that, once there is local transmission and we
Okay.
have a lot of COVID cases, I don't think we're medically prepared for that. So really, that's why we're focusing on prevention. We're focusing on strong quarantining measures and isolation measures. Parang we're really making sure that local transmission may not happen. But of course, that possibility is always there. No?
Yes.
Merong magpumuslit lang or merong, hindi lang na monitor. If we have local transmission and we have a lot of cases with severe symptoms, yun po yung kinakatakutan ko that we might not be prepared for that. So we're that's a strategy that we're still working on. We're trying to build up our health systems. We're building partnerships. Katulad po sa amin, sa province namin, wala kaming available na RT-PCR testing. Wala po kaming molecular lab.
So, saan po
So-
dinadala, ma'am, yung testing
So,
mo?
si DOH kasi, nagtetest sila ng patients na may symptoms.
Mhm.
Sinesend yan sa RITM or outside. It takes around 5 to 6 days to get the result. So, what we've done is we've partnered with Red Cross Batangas. So, we
Okay.
get our swab tests from them and then we send them to Red Cross Batangas.
Which is still
So-
8 hours away. Diba? Kasi
Yes.
sabi nga kanina, hindi rin
But
siya.
so you will get your result in 24 to 48 hours. So at
Oo.
least we managed to address the fact na kahit wala kami molecular lab, we don't need to spend 40 million to build our own lab. Instead, we've partnered with a molecular lab
Yes.
to ensure that we can still provide that service to our constituents. So
Okay.
that's why I was saying earlier that one of the vital lessons for me is that you don't need so many resources. Sometimes you need creativity and you need partnerships, you need networking, and you
Mhm.
can come up with alternate solutions that can still address the problem.
That's actually because we have to start, building these medical capabilities that you're talking about. Kasi
For future
we don't
pandemics.
know. For future similar situations for you. Is there anything? I understand we have about 5 minutes left of bombarding you with all these questions. Is there anything that you would like to say, given the audience that we have today, reaching out to the private sector? That's one. And two, to the national government. Is there anything that a message you would like to leave us with? You can have the floor now.
I think with this pandemic, it's time for us to really look inwards, look inside of ourselves, and think about the kind of lives we want to lead. I think this is an opportunity for us to re-examine how we've been living for the past decades and think, what do I really want to do with my life? Considering that COVID has shown us that your life can be snuffed out in a matter of moments, days, and you will die alone. That sounds so sad, but it's true, So parang not only for governance, but especially for governance, but also on a personal level, what kind of life do you want to lead? What are the most essential things in your life that you want to focus on and build on? Do you maybe want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to pursue something that you were so afraid to pursue because you were just busy with everything else, or you were afraid that it wouldn't sustain you? So those kinds of questions, I think that COVID is allowing us a bit of time to look at and answer for ourselves. And because I think that when we talk about good governance, we talk about development, we sometimes forget that what's important to look at is if we are all good, active, productive, and fulfilled citizens, then we can build a strong country. So if we all look inside of ourselves and think about what is the best way that we can develop ourselves and become the best persons that we can be. I think that would be the largest contribution we can give to our society. And we have to remain true to our principles. Kung ano yung sa tingin yung tama, kung ano sa tingin nyo ang maganda para sa inyo, sa pamilya nyo, most likely that's true for our society as a whole. So I hope that you can just think about that, and that extends to all levels of governance and development as well. If you are an official, if you are a leader, how can you be the best official and best leader that you can be? How can you really show the people the love and service that they deserve? So I think that's one thing that this pandemic is challenging us to do.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Very inspiring. I would like to quote you: if we are good, active, productive, strong, and develop ourselves to the best that we can have a strong country. So people like you continue to give us hope and inspiration, and we remind the entire country, hindi po HUC lang, hindi lang mga syudad. May magagaling po tayong mga local chief executives, zero. Now they say that it's good to have a zero in Odiongon, Romblon. Thank you very much for your time with us today, Mayor Trina Firmalo-Fabic of Odiongon, Romblon.
Thank you.
And continue to do what you do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we move on to our next speaker. Thank you for that. Our next speaker is napaka-bibo na local chief executive. I've been with her in some of the seminars and never a dull moment. She exudes so much energy, life, and joy. Kaya parang pag tinitignan ko siya, walang pandemic. Mayor Macel Cumpio-Avestruz entered public service after 25 years of being with the private sector. She decided to give back. With her excellence and dedication to work, she rose to ranks from being an information training officer to finally the general manager of the Leyte Electric Cooperative. So here is someone who knows how to rise from the ranks. And she's the Leyeco too is an electric cooperative supplying power to Tacloban, the capital of the region. Elected as municipal mayor of Barugo, Leyte last 2016. Mayor Macel led the municipality to its 5 consecutive years of being an SGLG awardee. She was awarded the seal of good local governance for 3 consecutive years, which were conferred during her first term. Is she with us, Ms. Camille, Mayor Macel? Parang I don't see her on the screen. Mayor Macel? Well, anyway, Mayor Macel is one of the fellows of Kaya Natin. She has been joining our seminars and learning from us on how to actually walk the path, the straight and narrow path of good governance. Mula po siya nung nag-umpisa ng kanyang pagiging mayor ay hawak kamay po kami. And from the private sector and from after being conferred, as I was saying, with the seal of good local governance successively during her term, she tried to look into the financial capability of the LGU of Barugo. Mayor Macel, through constant motivation, significantly improved the financial capability of the LGU. Now on her second term, and still smiling, Mayor Macel has created and nurtured a new culture in the municipality where integrity, transparency, and good governance are the standards of public servants. So now from, well, I come from the same island also. I am from Southern Leyte. She is from the north. Kapwa Leyteña siguro, I would say. the local chief executive and mayor of the municipality of Barugo, Mayor Macel Cumpio-Avestruz. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Marisa. Good afternoon to my fellow speakers. Basically, this is being resilient. Nagloko yung internet connection, so readily I was able to use my mobile data, and I'm now using my mobile phone just because to be able to continue my sharing. So basically, this is a classic example of being resilient in situations like this, where you can trust on the internet connectivity. So readily, I was able to shift to my mobile data. Siguro lang I would like to thank Kaya Natin and congratulate Kaya Natin on its anniversary. And in fact, this is an opportunity for us, a fourth-class municipality in the province of Leyte, being allowed to share. Basically, parang hearing Mayor Trina, yun ang nakakatakot palagi. Oftentimes, parang on 2 occasions, nagkakasunod kami, parang nakakatakot sundan si Mayor Trina after hearing all those stories and other activities that she had been doing. And in fact, in the later part of my story, the fear of Mayor Trina happened in our municipality. So most probably lang, we'll just share on how we were able to overcome the same when that situation come. So to start, I'd like to give you a brief profile of our municipality. So Barugo, Leyte lies in the northern portion of the province of Leyte and in the central portion of Region 8 or Eastern Visayas, a fourth-class municipality who has a total population of 32,745 in the 2015 NSO survey. It has 37 barangays, wherein 6 comprise the urban or the population area, and the rest are rural areas. And in fact, of the 37, 10 of those are within the coastal barangay. And siguro lang for the rest of other listeners, we were one of the towns that were hit when Super Typhoon Yolanda came. Our municipality is an agricultural municipality with a total land area of 8,952.82 hectares and a fourth-class municipality dependent on an IRA, with for this year, roughly we have 113,348,903 IRA and a total of a local income of 9.1 million from roughly, when I assumed during my first year, it was about 4 million local income. I believe siguro we are all new to this pandemic. We are all facing the challenges, at least for a fourth-class municipality like us. But as we begin to assess, evaluate, and lay down our plan of actions, the towering challenges become clear. Even in the implementation of programs and policies, the challenges seem endless. But we have to do it. We have to find ways lest we suffer the consequence. As the saying goes, stars shine brightest in the darkest of nights. Though confronted with challenges, our resolve remains steadfast. We have been assigned this mountain to show others it can move. So basically, I'll start with the lessons we have learned in this pandemic. As the saying goes, lessons are taught through experience. It all started most probably First, acceptance. Looking back, the turning point of my journey in this pandemic is the moment I realized and accepted the fact that COVID-19 in our municipality is imminent. In fact, our province was the first province who had the Balik Probinsya program. And in fact, our COVID positive cases started from that Balik Probinsya program, which later they told us that it's not Balik, rather it's Hatid Pamilya program. But whatever is the name, our COVID positive cases started when we had that program, which we were the pioneer with that program. Accepting the fact that COVID-19 in our municipality is imminent and owning the problem, being the local chief executive, I became specific, decisive, and unwavering. Same with Mayor Trina. Every challenge now becomes an opportunity. Accepting the fact that COVID-19 is imminent, readily we have established an operation center which it operates on a 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it started day one, way back March, and up to this time, in fact, it's still up. Further, we created the Municipal Interagency Task Force COVID Shield, where we have stakeholder partners. We have DepEd representative who sits with us in the task force. We have our ABC chairman. We have our member of the Sanggunian 2 who sits in our task force. In other words, it's coming from other agencies sit with there so that all are being consulted. We also have activated our Barangay Health Emergency Response Team, wherein we oftentimes meet our barangay chairmen for them to be in the boat and to appreciate the things that we are doing. Readily on, coming from a fourth-class municipality, talking of resources, outright we diverted some of our funds and established one COVID facility partnership with the DepEd, which we term it as the Municipal Ligtas COVID Center, where we quarantined all our returning local residents, either it's locally stranded or returning overseas Filipino worker. And with that facility too, we have identified an isolation area for our COVID positive patients. And gladly, our facility was or became a PhilHealth accredited facility and in fact a DOH certified. Considering that our municipality is strategically located, we were able to establish checkpoints on our borders since day one of our activity in this pandemic up to this time. We have our checkpoint partnering or being headed by our PNP. Our BFP is there too and complemented by the Philippine Army. As I have mentioned, we were first or pioneer province in the Hatid Probinsya. Before the same happened, considering that we have an active League of Municipalities Leyte chapter, we were really on able to establish a protocol as far as acceptance of our returning local residents. That's why we were able to establish that all will be quarantined, test, and if ever tested to be positive, we have to isolate. We have subjected all our arrivals regardless of LSI, OFW, to RT-PCR test. And if positive, we isolate. And further, it has been our practice too that after having recovered, we reintegrate them in the community where it is being joined by the members of the MITF. Our protocol, same with other municipalities within the province of Leyte, before a positive patient can be reintegrated back to the community, it has to be subjected to the RT-PCR test. And if yielded negative, that's only the time that we now allow them to be reintegrated back to the community. In situation like this, full support from the executive, legislative helped a lot. There must be executive and legislative collaboration. And in fact, in my case, day one of our activity in the response to this pandemic, I was issued an omnibus authority by our Sangguniang Bayan members, headed of course by our Vice Mayor. That's why readily it's easy for me to enter into MOA. If there are MOA to be entered into with different agencies relative to COVID-19 programs and projects. We are just fortunate, most probably, that we have 2 molecular testing centers in the province. In fact, in the region, one is a government-owned and another one is being handled by a private hospital. However, we were fortunate that we were able to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the private hospital, considering that public hospital or public laboratory does not accept RT-PCR test of our returning residents in cases they are asymptomatic. It's because there is that DOH circular or advisory which says that LSIs or FW who are asymptomatic are not cannot be or should not be subjected to RT-PCR test. Rather, they should be subjected to 14 days quarantine. But in our case, as I have mentioned a while ago, even before the arrivals of our LSIs, we already have established the protocol wherein it is termed as integrated Leyte protocol, where we subject all our arrivals, regardless of asymptomatic and symptomatic, to RT-PCR test. Because at the end of the day, we want safety of all. One important lesson too, as in fact mentioned too by Mayor Trina, is communication. People appreciate and understand better through constant discussion and communication. In fact, in our case, it's fortunate for us, before this pandemic happened, we were already able to establish our communication even up to our remotest barangay with the use of our handheld radio. And this captures all our 37 barangays, and that is why it's easy for us to disseminate communications to them via our handheld radio. In fact, this connects to our major border checkpoints where our PNP, BFP, including myself, has this handheld radio. That's why we can have delivery of timely information and, in fact, instructions given to them. And further, every night, since day one of this activity of ours, we have a net call where we remind all the things that has to be observed and some motivations to our frontliners manning our checkpoints and are always being done during this net call. We also use social media platform via Facebook to cause widest information dissemination possible. We also use the typical in a rural, the bandilyo, to reach every nook and cranny of our municipality because we really recognize the importance of communication, especially in this pandemic. In fact, if we go through with the solution of DOH, where A stands alamin ang wastong impormasyon, it is also our campaign that for them to have the accurate and correct information, they just have to access our FB page. Another important lesson too is the consistency of the implementation of the policies. And I think this has been mentioned too by Mayor Trina. Because once we exercise discretion in this case, it would now be difficult for us to be firm in the implementation of established policies. Like for instance, in our case, since day one of this pandemic, there were several executive orders issued. In fact, several ordinances also were passed by our Sangguniang Bayan members, such as ordinance of those non-wearing of the face mask, our liquor ban, the curfew. So to give signal to our constituents, regardless of who they are, regardless of political affiliations, the rule has to be implemented consistently. Because as I have said, once discretion is there, it would be difficult for us to be firm in decision. Further, transparency also played an important lesson too in this kind of situation, which includes timely information, especially in our cases where we already have positive patients. Of course, without disclosing the identity of whoever yield positive. In fact, in our case, every day, if we have RT-PCR tests submitted to our laboratories, we are always waiting for the just in of DOH to come out, because it's the time that positive patients are being announced. But after we have a coordination meeting with DOH and the laboratory too, even prior the Justin, all mayors, if there are concerned positive patients in that particular municipality, like for us, in our case, in advance we are informed, so that early on we can capture, we can contain, and we can do the necessary things to be done in order for us to address our positive patients, which later, most probably, we will be discussing further. Disclosure also includes not only the activities that we are doing, also including the utilization of the funds, especially when we were granted the Bayanihan grant of the 1 month. The utilization of the same was posted at our LGU grounds for transparency, so that they will be able to know how did we utilize the same. Being transparent, we were able to gain trust from our stakeholders. In fact, we have private persons who would donate in kind and money. And up to this time, we continuously receiving donations, and we were able to receive funds from private citizens, roughly up to this time around 300,000. And also, we have private individuals who would sponsor meals at our facility, because in our facility, we cater or we give free meals to all our quarantine facility and also our positive patients at our isolation. We utilize our FB page too in disclosing and accounting the utilization of funds that were donated by private individuals. We even have former residents from our facility who would donate, sponsor meal at our facility. Full transparency of all the funds and activities of the LGU relative specifically to COVID-19 in this time are totally disclosed. In that way, we gain confidence and less resistance of the people. Considering that none of us is expert in this situation, we continue to learn. We learn not only for ourselves, but most importantly, we learn to help others. We learn best practices such as like this webinar, though I may be speaking to, I am one of the panelists, I also learn from my co-panelists best practices. And then they say, though it's difficult for us to be comparing to other municipalities, but it's not difficult for us to copy best practices that can be applicable to our municipalities as well. Also, data and information are powerful tools for decision making. Benchmarking and attendance to webinars is also of help. In fact, I am fortunate because our LMP Leyte chapter is a very active organization, and every week we have a Zoom meeting with the rest of the mayors. We exchange ideas, compare notes, and we learn from there. I am also oftentimes attending webinars under LEAP and the Angat by groups, and from there too, we have lots of learnings. We cannot do it alone. We need all help we can get, financial, technical, human resources, even in the implementation of policies. And in fact, we were able to tap government offices too, such as DOLE, that continue existing assistance to us. We were able to have the BK project where our transport group was the beneficiaries. And recently, in fact, 2 days ago, 3 of our LSIs were recipient of the first livelihood under the Balik Provincia of Dole. We were able also to tap private individuals, especially our transport group, where we were able to actually rent van that would cater or that we use in fetching our returning residents to our municipalities, because we fetch them from our border and bring them directly to our facility so as to contain and they be able to be quarantined. Recently, we were a recipient because DOH was here. We were augmented with our HRH and in fact too, we were able to have our own swabbers, and at present we have 3 teams of swabbers and 3 teams of contact tracers. That's why 2 weeks ago the fear of Mayor Trina happened in our municipality. We were strict in our borders. We quarantined our LSIs, OFW, all returning residents, and fortunately we were hit with a local case. Basically, even before, through our sharing, because there are already other municipalities being hit by local case, because of our sharing, early on, we were able to most probably contain it outrightly. The 3 teams of the swabbers and our contact tracers was a big help to us when we were hit by a local case. It's just that really we have to do this one with passion. No pain, no gain. Giving up should not be an option. We just have to work hard, but pray hardest. Really, we have to seek also divine intervention. We have endured for almost 6 months. We have just have to push through. In fact, during our reintegration of our recovered patients, listening to their stories while they were at our facilities, it gives us inspiration and affirms that what we are doing are really the things that should be done. It is our mantra, which we say, we have to be stronger always than yesterday. We must never give up. And finally, we really have to heal as one. And if we change I by we, even illness becomes wellness. Together, we have to heal as one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Macel. Are you okay to take a few questions, Mayor Macel? And
Very much okay.
Thank you very much for being very resilient and shifting. Ang timing nga naman, ano, when it comes to your turn, naputol yung imo.
Yeah.
Congratulations on being in SGLG for 5 straight years. That is such a feat. And I think I can say, having worked with the mayors in the Yolanda corridor, you are now truly, really and truly survivors. Ano pa ba ang hindi nyo kakayanin, no? After Yolanda, ngayon meron namang pandemic. And
Marisa, although I thought that Yolanda was really the strongest thing that would happen na, but unfortunately, we have this one pala, pandemic, harder than Yolanda.
As you say, you have to be stronger than yesterday.
Always.
Allow me to carry this forward. It's lessons learned. Let's veer away from best practice kasi marami na yon. Ano ang sa tingin ninyo dapat you could have done better with national government, with the provincial government? How do you think things could have gone better for you as a local chief executive?
Ever since actually we have been articulating this, that policies from national down to us should be consistent. One, for instance, that DOH advisory which says LSI should not be subjected to RT-PCR tests. That's why, though the rest of the municipalities, in fact, like in the province of Leyte, we have an active LMP group. We came up with an integrated Leyte protocol for us neighboring towns kasi magkatabi-tabi lang kami, di ba?
Yes.
It will affect the behavior of other town, will greatly affect your town too. That's why we wanted to be consistent too in the implementation of subjecting, kasi nga, as I have mentioned, we were pioneer in the Balik Provincia. So we were really hoping that we will be consistent in the implementation and subjecting all our arrivals to RT-PCR test. Unfortunately, when this DOH circular or advisory was handed down to us, which now says that they should just be subjected to home quarantine, no longer subjected to RT-PCR test if they are asymptomatic. For instance, in our case, I've got roughly 41 LSIs yielded positive, but all of them are asymptomatic. None of them were symptomatic. Basically, because had we not subjected them to RT-PCR, have we not subjected them to RT-PCR test, if we just have them quarantined, how could had
you
that
would
be?
never know? Yeah.
Yes. In fact,
so
Marisa,
paano yun, ma'am? You did not follow. You felt it was better for your town to really go through the RCPR test. So hindi kayo nag-follow ng quarantine.
We did not. What we did, I had requested our Sangguniang Bayan to come up with an ordinance in order for me to be safe too. We had an ordinance which adapted the protocol of the integrated Leyte province in saying that we really, in fact, Marisa, all our positive patients too, we just do not allow them to be reintegrated back to the community, absence of RT-PCR test yielding them negative. And though they are saying that it should be clinically examined by the doctors or our MHOs, that positive patients should no longer be subjected to RT-PCR test. After 14 days, they can now be reintegrated back to the community. But what happened to us? I think there are about 10 of our positive patients that would last for more than 2 months every after
Ganun
RT-PCR
katagal.
test. Yeah, I think um, a month ago we have a positive patient and have been in our COVID facility roughly for 2 months. When we reintegrated her back to the community, we found out that the husband make the most of the time while his wife was at our COVID facility, he constructed a house. So when we reintegrated back this positive patient to their barangay, we found out that they have a new constructed house, which, kumbaga, yun na lang ang pinaghugutan ni asawa while waiting for the wife. Kasi
So
the
yun ang
wife was,
solusyon niya, gumawa siya ng
yeah,
house.
yes, oo. Kasi yung wife niya, kasama yung baby niya. Yielded positive din yung baby, so the baby was with the mother at our COVID facility.
Let me pick up something from what you said, Mayor Macel, which I found very interesting. You said you had to make an ordinance to protect yourself. That's very interesting to know that you have to protect yourself from the policy of national government. Ganun ba yun, ma'am?
Yes, I might be sanctioned because I am not following the advisory of the OH. So in order, kasi naman pag tiningnan natin, most probably the ordinance can help, can protect me if
Yes.
ever I will be sanctioned. Bottom line of which, we just want to have the safety of the community. In fact,
Yes.
even with that, we were hit by a local case 2 weeks ago.
So parang you exercise your own judgment that you felt your community would be safer by what the procedure that you want to undertake. Pero kailangan mong proteksyonan yung sarili mo sa sarili mong gobyerno para hindi ka masanction.
True. And that
That
is
very
most
sad.
probably lamentable, diba?
Yeah. Lamentable.
Yeah.
Oo nga, talagang
Yeah.
lamentable, no?
Yes.
So very sad. These are things that actually we can improve on. Economy-wise, ma'am, you have not mentioned, have you been hit badly economically, yung area ninyo?
Basically, yes. Because in the last 2 months, everything was restricted. But kahit paponte, parang bumabalik na din siya. Paunti-unti. Pero nakita natin, ano, di ba kasi si Barugo, ang the town producing the local wine, the red wine, local red wine.
Tuba.
Oh, the tuba. So parang though we were able to have an ordinance of the liquor ban in order for the pakabuhi of this mga manonggeti and the mga paragtuba, we allow them but in bulk na pag na selling, not on mga tingi-tingi lang, so that it will not fall under liquor ban. Kumbaga, it talks of the business na of themselves, but hindi nila yon binibenta within the municipality. Binibenta nila yon parang dun sa outside the municipality, and we allow them to do that para lang hindi rin mabadlihit yung kumbaga hanap buhay nila, which is a source of living too.
What about hunger? Did your people experience hunger?
Our town kasi is an agricultural municipality. So basically, na timing siya, na harvest and all, and we're looking towards end of the year. Most probably, that should now be parang the setback. But basically, when that happened, parang it's harvest time, our area is an agricultural municipality. So parang not badly hit on the rice production. Kasi patuloy pa rin man silang nakapagtanim.
At least malaking bagay yung walang gutom, no?
Yeah, yes.
Siguro we have the last 5 minutes. There is a question that I would like to address to you specifically. Being in the Yolanda corridor, Yolanda happened in November of 2013. The typhoons come at that time of the year. There is no guarantee na hindi tayo tatamaan at the end of the year. At the same time, parang it is logical to assume that the pandemic will still be around up to that time. Are you prepared for that, ma'am? I mean, it is a worst case scenario, pero seeing this now, how would, are you prepared to react to something like that, whether this climate event at the same time addressing the pandemic.
True. Actually, Region 8 is a typhoon-built area. In fact, our municipality almost every year is being hit by the typhoon. Our mantra too is we always have to prepare for the worst, but we pray hard that the best will come. Considering that it's toward end of the year, and basically COVID will still be there, I think. So we have actually prepared, and then there are lot of things in consideration. This time, it's not the same as the evacuation process that we have been doing before. In this time, when we talk of evacuation, we have to observe to physical distancing and all and everything. That's why we have been preparing molecular tents that can be used if ever this really happened. So that's one thing that we have been, that's actually parang we have to be proactive kasi last year we were hit by typhoon almost during December, during Christmas time. So basically we're still also looking at it that towards end, almost every year towards end we are being hit. So those are things that we are now considering too, because
very interesting. I mean, social distancing,
yes,
evacuation with social distancing.
Yeah, yes,
And
yes.
rescue, paano yung rescue with social distancing?
Distancing too.
Diba?
Yeah.
Kung araw, kailangan mong naka-rescue attire, what will that look like with the PPE?
And then before, isang truck, nandun sila lahat. Pero this time, there are lots of things to be observed.
Yes. I think that is, well, I guess for the last 5 minutes of your time scheduled, ma'am, again, our partners, Inquirer Foundation, Inquirer.net, and the Philippine Daily Inquirer, you have a wide audience listening to you today. What would you like to say or reach out to national government, the private sector, the NDRRMC, or whomever? The floor is yours now, Mayor Macel.
Thank you, Marisa. One thing, siguro, the rest of the mayors too are clamoring, consistency of policy from the national down to us. And siguro lang, they have to consider that the mayors are the ones at the grounds. So siguro lang dapat, before anything else, the national decide on top, yung bottom up ba, parang you have to consult first the bottom before the top decides. Kasi we are the ones at the grassroots. We are the ones executing and all. So parang sinasabi sa taas, when it comes to implementation naman down, it's difficult for us to do. So parang that's one thing that should be addressed. Bottom-up na decision, bottom-up policy, parang participatory. Oh, yun. Parang in fact, when this Balik Probinsya and all came up, there was no coordination from the LGUs. All of a sudden, we were just informed that mayroon ng mga dadating and all and everything. It's good na lang that parang yung LNP kasi namin is very cohesive and active. Parang mag-meet tayo, let us agree, and then anyone and all. Pasa na naman kami ng resolution to top for us to be heard. In fact, parang kasi kami readily we can convene via Zoom and then come up with resolution and then send it to the national for us to be heard. Kasi parang kami naman ang end na recipient and all.
Kayo talagang implementer.
Yeah. But ironically, the implementer is not being consulted, it's not being asked, and whatever. Parang basta, ibibigay na lang sa inyo.
I think you will be heard today. It's a very good opportunity, no? And I think it's very good also that you did not mince your words. They have to consult you because you are the one consulting the body.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, one very basic na situation that happened. When we had the SAP, national decided that barangay tanod should not be included in the SAP. They were talking on the national level. Unfortunate for us in the municipality, especially a fourth-class municipality, itanod receiving 300, hindi siya isasama sa SAP. Parang walang magtatanod na sa amin. Kaya early on, we make noise, and we actually, I told our regional director of the DSWD that I will just defend our decision in including our barangay tanods. But basically, it would be difficult for us to let them continue their being volunteer in the barangay if we will not include them in the SAP. Basically, they were just receiving a 300 honorarium a month, and they will not be included in the SAP. Parang so unfortunate. Yeah, volunteer lang yun, Marisa. Unfortunate for them, di ba? So yun is a classic example because they were referring na national na level na tanods are receiving more than actually the honorarium of a barangay chairman or council in the rural. Yun. So that's one classic example.
Yeah, that's a very specific example, and I guess it's good that you were able to raise it. So with that, I think Mayor Macel, thank you very much for your time with us now, and thank you for being very candid in voicing out your concerns. And in doing so, we are hoping that things can improve. And I hear you. We are reaching the end of the year. And of course, we can never say, climate is there. So we have to be doubly prepared for that. I hope we have people from the NDRR and CO are listening also today. So thank you very much to Mayor Macel Cumpio-Avestruz of Barugo, Leyte. Maraming salamat.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. And this leads us to our final speaker, of course, not the least, very young. Again, I'd like to say that source of inspiration, hopefully for many, the third strong lady. We have an afternoon of ladies today. She is a councilor and a third term actually, city councilor of Lucena, Quezon. She chairs the Sangguniang Committee on Social Welfare, Women, Children, Family, Senior Citizens, and Persons with Disabilities, Committee on Cooperatives, and Committee on Laws. Councilor Shine, I mean, that in itself is very uplifting. She shines. Councilor Shine is a lawyer, a very young lawyer. She obtained her Bachelor of Laws from the University of the Philippines. Kapwa UP pala to, Diliman, in the early 2000, and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the same university. She was a volunteer teacher. So sanay po sa hirap ito. Now I can imagine your empathy for those who will be starting a new pedagogy or mode of teaching, no? For one school year under the UP Gurong Pahinungod program in 2003, and has been involved in socio-civic work since then, alongside her professional work until she entered public service. So allow me to introduce Councilor Sunshine Abcede-Llaga of Lucena, Quezon. Good afternoon, Shine.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Marisa, and to all our listeners and viewers in Facebook and all the other platforms. I would like to thank Kaya Natin movement for this invitation and for giving us regular doses of good governance. We thank the Inquirer for supporting this endeavor. I would share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
So we will be sharing our lessons learned during this pandemic. I'll just give a brief description of where I am from. I am from Lucena City. This is the capital of Quezon Province, and it is in southern Luzon with a population of around 280,000. We are highly urbanized, a highly urbanized city with 33 barangays. And for the area, we're the center of trade, commerce, and education. I am a city councilor, third term councilor, and I think that puts me in a different place from our two uh, speakers who gave their presentations earlier. We know that our councilors are tasked with legislative work, and COVID response is actually heavy on the executive branch for quick implementation of protocols. So ang mga sanggunian po, ang mga konseho, nagbibigay ng suporta sa executive sa pamamagitan ng pagpapasa ng mga legislative measures such as the ordinances, as mentioned by Mayor Macel, that she needed some ordinance from the sanggunian to implement her programs and projects. We pass resolutions and ordinances for legal basis for the quarantine restrictions to be able to impose penalties. Kasi hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng penalties yon kung walang ang mga executive orders kung walang kaukulang ordinansa. So we have passed MGCQ ordinance when we were under MGCQ, GCQ ordinance when we were under GCQ, and also all the other protocols like wearing a face mask and such. Pero hindi po natatapos doon ang pagtingin ng aming mga constituents pagdating sa gawain ng mga konsehal. Tinitingnan din nila na ang dapat tugunan din namin yung mga pangangailangan nila as city officials. So they look upon us to address their needs during the pandemic. So kami po sa aming mga maliliit na paraan ay sumusubok na tugunan yung mga pangangailangan din ng aming mga constituents parallel to the efforts of the local government units. So in this presentation, we will be presenting some of our projects to respond to this call of our constituents. Ang disclaimer ko po dito, kanina nga dun sa presentation ni Mayor Trina, very similar yung mga proyekto na aming ipinatutupad kasi we really take on the best practices of other LGUs na nagiging inspirasyon namin at we try to implement them in our own locality. And also another disclaimer is that some of these projects are really small scale because these are some are personal initiatives with partnership with some organizations, pero ang pinapakita po kasi namin na ito yung mga pilot projects na pwede ring i-take on ng city government o ng possibly ng region or ng probinsya kung makita nila na maaaring ipatupad sa mas malaki at mas malawak na paraan. So meron po akong narinig sa isang TED Talk na ang isang bubuyog daw sa kanyang buhay ay nakakapaggawa lang ng 1/12 tablespoon of honey. So pero yung kanilang ginagawang honey na yon hindi niya nakakain kasi yun ay para sa mga kasunod na miyembro ng kanyang colony. Kaya yung mga ibabahagi po namin, ito lang siguro yung 1/12 tablespoon of honey na we could contribute sa ating komunidad na pilit na umaagpaw sa ating sitwasyon ng pandemya. So this is our 1/12 tablespoon of honey. My first lesson, which actually is similar to the experiences of Mayor Macel and Mayor Trina, is that we should build partnerships. During the onset of COVID in March, when Luzon was placed in total lockdown, instinctively, we started a parallel effort to provide food packs and support to frontliners. Ito po yung pansarili naming effort, of course, together with so many donors and partners, we were able to collect around 200,000 worth of pledges aside the goods that and services that they offered, we were able to give 3,000 food packs to transport, co-ops, TODA, tricycle po yun, mga PWD seniors, indigent families, and non-SAP beneficiaries. So nag-focus po kami kasi ito'y parallel naman sa ginagawa ng aming local government. So itong mga sa tingin namin ay higit na nangangailangan ay aming binigyan ng suporta. Ganon din po sa mga frontliners at saka mga healthcare workers na kapag bigay po kami ng 255 PPEs and all these vitamins, face mask, and alcohol para dun sa mga barangay frontliners naman. Kasi sabi nga ni Mayor Macel, kahit 300 lang ang kinikita ng mga barangay frontliners, ng mga tanod, binibigay nila they put their lives at risk and in danger. So what we could just do is to give them some assistance and protection in this form. Kaya po sinasabi ko na we have to build partnerships. No, ito pong nakalap namin ay mula sa napakaraming mga iba't ibang organisasyon sa hanay ng kooperatiba, socio-civic organizations, mga church groups, business sectors, and even individuals. May mga sarili ring effort yung mga city councilors na pinagsama-sama namin para matugunan ang mga pangangailangang ito. I would just to take this opportunity to acknowledge the Office of the Vice President who helped us with the PPEs of the Quezon Medical Center. One of the first na nagbigay ng tulong para sa mga PPEs, and we continue that project na ang mga nakasama po namin sa pagtatahi ng local PPEs ay mga local designers at saka TESDA na tinahi nila yon ng libre. So that's my first lesson, that we need to build partnerships, pandemic or in crisis or non-crisis situation. I think that is an important lesson to learn. And the second lesson that I learned is that I think we should reset for better normal. As weeks of quarantine turned into months, we realized we are in this for a long haul, and we started hearing the term new normal. But it is probably a chance for us to reset and have some policy directions towards a better normal. Even as the pandemic puts us in a very difficult situation, it also presents opportunity to change things for the better. Sabi nga po ni Winston Churchill, never let good crisis go to waste. So nung mga Mayo, nag-isip na kami ng ano ba yung mga policy directions na dapat atin ng tinatahak. Ito po yung mga napag-isipan namin na paano ba mababago ang buhay natin sa paayos, no? So we have bike lanes for Lucena, alternative ways of moving about, Lucena community gardens. We are pursuing city data that the data would be available in the city for evidence-based and policy and decision making. Ito rin po na sana na ating tinatahak ay e-transactions with the city government, taking advantage of information and communications technology, and an accessible healthcare. Ang disclaimer ko po dito, ang mga bagay pong ito ay nais naming isulong dito sa amin sa lungsod ng Lucena, and we are rallying organizations to support this effort and initiative para ma-convince din natin the whole of the city government to be able to go towards this direction. But even then, naghihintay tayo ng suporta ng pamahalang panglungsod at ng marami pang maglalabi para sa mga bagay na ito, ginagawa na rin po natin yung maliliit na hakbang. So, for example, dito po sa community gardens, nung Nutrition Month, naggawa kami ng proyekto na alay gulay ang alay gulay po ay ginawa namin with an online community na ang kanilang advocacy ay grow your own food campaign. Sila po yung Oh My Gulay. Hinikayat po namin na yung mga sobra nilang ani sa likod bahay nila ay ibahagi para lutuin namin yung mga gulay na yon para sa isang daycare center. At binigyan din yung mga beneficiaries, yung mga magulang ng seedlings para makapagsimula rin sila ng sarili nilang mga tanim sa kani-kanilang mga kalapit bahay. Kaya yan po yung alay gulay ginawa namin nung Nutrition Month, but of course we are in the legislative, so we have to also push for an ordinance. So this is in the almost due for second reading, an ordinance promoting institutionalizing and developing urban and community gardens in Lucena City. So doon po sa mga pangarap natin na yung 5 areas na yon, we would still pursue that, siguro small steps, at sa pagdating ng tamang panahon ay ma-implementa at ma-institutionalize ang mga bagay na nabanggit namin doon sa data availability, yung e-transactions with the city government, ay sana'y magkaroon ng katuparan sa darating na panahon. Ang pangatlo ko pong natutunan ay kailangan natin hanapin yung mga vulnerable sectors. We have to seek out the marginalized. Dahil kung mahirap po ang sitwasyon natin sa pagharap sa pandemya, lalo na po yung mga nandun sa laylayan o marginalized sector dahil compounded po yung kanilang paghihirap. Kaya meron din po kami na mga ilang proyekto at ilang mga resolusyon na ipinasa para naman sa marginalized sector. For persons with disabilities, we passed a resolution urging the city government to provide social protection to the members of the PWD sector to address the negative effects of the quarantine due to the coronavirus pandemic. Ito po ay humihiling na magkaroon ng cash assistance to cover disability-related costs kasi kailangan nila ng gamot pero hindi naman sila makapagtrabaho ng panahon ng ECQ. Making information and communication channels accessible, and also safeguarding them from violence. Yan po yung nilalaman ng resolution. Pero yung mga proyekto, meron po kaming PWD help padala para ito sa mga medical needs, pero yung mga panggamot lang ng ilang mga PWDs and senior citizens. So, ginamit po namin yung mga available technology ngayon dyan kasi may mga smart padala na, meron ng mga GCash para hindi sila kailangang lumabas. Pero napaka-small amount din lang po, konti rin lang yung nabigyan namin dahil ito may mga personal na inisyatiba sa tulong din, yung pondo ay mula sa mga nabanggit kong donors and sponsors. So tinitingnan din po natin na kailangan makita ma-take advantage ang teknolohiya para madali ang pagbibigay ng serbisyo, lalo na dun sa mga vulnerable sectors na nahihirapan lumabas ng kanilang tahanan, ganyan. So, ang isa pa po naming proyekto ay yung Lucena Giving Hope, bagong-bago pa po ito. Ito po yung support group for parents of children with special needs. It's a Facebook group para lang magkaroon sila ng lugar kung saan pwede silang magtanong at mag-share ng kanilang mga experiences. Isa pa pong aming in the pipeline ay yung tech rehab, tele-rehab na may volunteer PTs. Kasi meron kaming Barangay Wellness Center. Proyekto ko po yan dun sa Young Leaders for Good Governance na noon siya nagkaroon kami ng first batch pero nag-pandemic na, so hindi na sila nakapunta doon. Ngayon po tinitingnan namin ang possibility with the volunteer PTs na mag-tele-rehab ang mga 10 clients lang yon, pero hopefully kung makita ng mga ibang barangay namin na pwede yon gawin, so pwede rin nilang i-adopt sa sarili nilang barangay. We also have the, as part of the vulnerable sector, ang mga bata, children po. So we have a resolution putting forward the concerns of children, including their right to survival, protection, development, and participation during the pandemic. We also passed a resolution supporting the DepEd learning continuity plan. But aside from that, we have our own small initiatives. We have Fetch Book, para po itong library on the go ni Mayor Trina. Meron po kaming box full of books and we send it to our Fetch Book friends sa mga purok. Tapos sila yung mga kapitbahay nila yung nanghihiram. At sila yung tumatayong librarian. Meron din po kaming portable Wi-Fi for teachers na alam natin kailangan ng connectivity lalo na ngayon magsisimula na ang kanilang klase. Ang isa pong proyekto pa rin namin ay yung Wi-Fi hotspot. The Wi-Fi hotspot sa isang barangay, pero it covers isang purok din po, residential area. Now we hope to tie up with the DepEd and if possible to expand with if some other barangays would take it on. We have internet cafe tie-up wherein we sponsor the free use of the facilities of an internet for college students. So, but we are also with the OVP we have 2 learning hubs in the city. One in Barangay Dalahican and Barangay 11. Yung pong mga ibang mga sectors, meron kami rin na para sa seniors, sa transport sector, pregnant women, and solo parents. My lesson number 4 is that we need to support local businesses dahil sa dami po ng na-retrench at sa pagtaas ng unemployment rates, ang ginagawa ng ating mga kababayan ay magsimula ng sarili nilang mga maliliit na negosyo. So we hope to support their effort in our own little way. We have the support local by local. Meron po kaming fini-feature namin sa I'm back. I'm sorry. So
It's okay. We never lost you. It's okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
But you saw me panic. Okay, wait lang. View. Okay. Yeah. So we encourage them by having them in our Facebook page and promoting them sa yung Lucena Negosyo of the Day. But we also want to do something with a cooperative similar to what I think Mayor Trina was discussed earlier, the microfinance for the micro and small businesses through loans or grants, with the seed money hopefully coming from the city government. So for my final learning is that sabi nila yung 2020 swerte pero sabi ng horoscope swerte daw pero hanggang ngayon parang October na, no? Pero ang blessing ng 2020 is the 2020 vision that now we are forced to realize what is important. We know that our family is important, our health is important, our faith is important, and that pag gumigising po tayo sa umaga, chine-check natin kung kumusta ba ang temperatura ko, kumusta ang temperatura ng mga anak ko, masakit ba ang mayroon ba akong sore throat? Kasi ngayon we realize that every breath is a blessing. Parang galing kay Isa Calzado yan, yung quote na yan. And ang final learning ko at kahit naman hindi panahon ng pandemya, is that we do the most good that we can do today. Para po sa mga public servants at kahit sa atin, minsan we feel that it is a low, it's a slow day, we are down. But so ano yung kaya nating gawin na na magaganda sa araw na to? Ano yung most good that we can do? And that would be enough. So with that, thank you for listening po. Thanks, Marisa.
Thank you very much, Councilor Shine, for that presentation. You can see how diverse our country is, no? From an island in Romblon, we have something like 37,000 to a municipality in Leyte, in Barugo, and now to a highly urbanized city where we have a councilor who looks after a district who's even much bigger than those of the towns that we originally had. So let me get back to the same questions that I asked our first two speakers. Since best practice has been the trend for the last couple of months, we look from a different lens this time. What went wrong? What do you think we can do better to allow our public officials, local officials to function more effectively and efficiently in times of crisis?
I share the sentiments of the mayors that the clear and consistent protocols from the national government should we should have those clear and consistent protocols kasi we look up to the national government to give us guidance. Kaya minsan po yung mga protocols na sinasabi nila, it takes time for us to put it in an ordinance kasi we're trying to also to figure out if it will work for us, and then after a few days it will be changed. So it's good that we didn't make an ordinance kasi mababago din. So I think that's the common reflection, no, for all of us, that hopefully we get clear and consistent protocols.
Yes. I'll ask you the same question as I did them. Hunger, is that an issue in Lucena, ma'am?
Yes, I think it is an issue. Kasi we're struggling, no, with the yung mga businesses nagsuslow down, but little by little it's beginning to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Pero yun din yung takeaway ko na we really have to go to the level of the family. We have to know how they are, and we have to extend take the extra mile to address their needs. No, it's hard considering we're quite a big city, but we have to. I think we have to go to that level of really knowing how our families are faring, how are the kids doing, paano yung mga stroke patients, paano sila, ano yung mga pangangailangan nila na kayang matugunan.
Yes. Interesting for me to note, Councilor Shine, no, na parang the local government unit and the national should be in one team. But it seems like you have to mediate with the national in order to address the needs of the yung pinaka constituents ninyo. No? So how do they feed back to you, and how do they, ideally kasi kung ako ang constituent, sinabi ko na sa local government official ko, ang aking assumption hanggang sa taas na yon, which is apparently not happening. So how do you relate, give them feedback?
Siguro we will also have to give our thanks to lalo na po sa level ng barangay, kasi they're the barangay captains, the barangay kagawads who really they're the first line. Sila yung pinupuntahan sa mga pangangailangan ng kanilang constituents. Kaya sa ganung paraan, nakikita ko nga po na dapat sadya na re-relay yan hanggang sa national, no? At nakikita nila may paraan para maparating kung ano bang sitwasyon dito sa mga barangay namin at sa mga purok.
Since HUC kayo, ma'am, naiiba kayo sa dalawang municipalities natin who are much smaller, no? You must be dealing a lot with businesses. Varied, yung small, medium. How
Yes.
do you keep them encouraged, or just give them the will to go on na wag sumuko in this pandemic?
We had consultation for an ordinance in support of MSMEs, and the medium enterprises are saying that they're doing okay. I think the real problem is with the small and micro establishments, and the way to reach the small and micro establishments are through, I think the best way is through the cooperatives. Hindi po kasi sila buo. Walang organisasyon ng mga maliliit na mga negosyante, yung mga nagtitinda, may sari-sari store, wala silang organisasyon. Kaya ang hirap iparating sa kanila kung ano man ang tulong na ibibigay, halimbawa ng pamahalaang panglungsod. But one way to reach them is through the cooperatives. At doon nga sana hinihiling namin na mabigyan ng seed money ang mga co-ops tulad ng ginagawa sa ibang lugar para mapautang sa mga individual members nila, at ganun din matulungan as grants yung ilang mga primary cooperatives na nangangailangan ng suporta from the city government.
Do you feel that national government is doing enough in this particular area?
Marami pong proyekto na dinadaan sa mga ahensya tulad ng DOLE at DTI. Kaya minsan lang pagdating sa amin ng konti na ng beneficiaries, ganyan. Di ba po, parang sa isang programa, very very few na yung nabibigyan ng nagbe-benefit doon sa program.
Nalalagas ba along the way? Nababawasan?
Hindi ko po alam. Pero siguro napakalawak din ng kanilang kailangan ito. Opo. So pagdating sa mga locality, maaring konti na. Pero we're really grateful with the support of the national government in providing us with programs. Yun din po ang sinusulong namin sa sanggunian, na that the city take advantage of all of these programs para rin maitulong namin sa aming mga constituents.
Yeah. Well, I guess, ma'am, for the last 5 minutes, you have the floor. We are now, again, as I say, thankful to our partners, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Inquirer Foundation, and Inquirer.net. Is there anything that you'd like to say to reach out to the national government, to your constituents, the private sector, media, or other branches of government? Go ahead and do so, ma'am.
Maraming salamat po sa oportunidad na makapagbahagi dito sa Kaya Natin. Thank you very much, Kaya Natin, and Inquirer.net and the Inquirer Foundation. But siguro ang akin lang pong mensahe ay para sa mga lokal at national na pamahalaan. We put the well-being of our constituents first and foremost, before anything else, na tinitingnan natin kung anong pangangailangan, and we address this needs of our constituents. And if it's needed, we have to take the extra mile. Paano sila maaabot at paano sila matutulungan. So on a personal level, I think it is also time for us to reflect na ano nga ba ang gusto natin para sa ating bansa, no? At sa ating mga pamilya at sa ating sarili. Ngayon, marami tayong panahon na nasa bahay tayo kasama ang ating pamilya, and that's also a blessing. But moving forward, anong mga natutunan natin sa pandemyang ito, and how could we help not just our family but our community, and how do we want to change for the better? Yun na, yung sana better normal na ang ating mahal na bansa ay makita ang hindi lang pagtatapos ng pandemyang ito, pero pagpapatuloy ng sana magandang buhay para sa lahat ng mga Pilipino.
Well, thank you. With that, Councilor Shine Abcede-Llaga of Lucena, Quezon, for sharing with us and for your time, your reflection also on the lessons that you have learned. Maraming salamat sa iyo.
Salamat din po.
Yes. Okay, which brings me now to the end of this this particular dose of good governance that we have today. So to sum it up for everyone, just a few things, no? From Mayor Trina of Odiongon in Romblon. She says to us that good governance is doing what we can and giving the best of what we are, to be good, active, productive, develops a strong country. This is time actually for reflection for all of us. And Mayor Macel of Barugo, Leyte, the lessons that we learned, we should coordinate more. Let's talk, let's talk national government. Our local officials are reaching out to you, talk to them. They are saying that they're open to listen. And in fact, Councilor Shine was very, very specific. She said, we want clear and consistent protocols and guidelines. Let's be clear, let's be consistent. Talk to us because we know our people best. That's what she was saying. It is the same throughout. Be it a small LGU, middle-sized LGU, or a highly urbanized LGU. Consistently, we heard the words partnerships. Let's be partners. Walang nalalamang, walang nasa baba. Partners. Kapit bisig, hawak kamay tayo dito. Let's help each other. Let's be transparent. They said, let's be transparent because it is key. They talked of donors. They all talked about donors. And sabi ni Mayor Macel, she was very clear, participatory. Let's be participatory. Allow everyone to participate. Allow everyone to have a voice. And the well-being of constituents should be above anything else. And what really inspired me this afternoon is that they're not talking about a new normal. They're talking about a better normal. So let's work towards making things better. That's ironic. Well, I guess it was good that our last speaker brought sunshine. So it shines on the reflection that we have for this afternoon. So it was a great privilege for me to be among progressive, effective, empowering, and ethical women this afternoon who are helping us through this very difficult time. So it was a very great privilege for that. I'd like to thank once again our partners, Inquirer.net, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and Inquirer Foundation for this afternoon's dose of good governance. So until the next one, thank you very much. This has been Marisa of Kaya Natin, and we look forward to having everyone once again for our next dose of the Kaya Natin Good Governance. Thank you at magandang gabi sa inyong lahat.
Doses of Good Governance. Kaya Natin Movement's webinar series is in partnership with the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Inquirer Foundation, and Inquirer.net.